show, this is a developing story. We are now getting reports of a fire at a fourth reactor, and more radiation has been released. We will bring you more on this as we get it, but that is the word we're getting at this hour, and the Japanese Prime Minister has told citizens to stay at least 19 miles away from the explosion. 19 miles away from the explosion and a fire at the fourth reactor, and we are told that there is more radiation being released. We'll have more for you as this broadcast continues. Japan has the best tsunami warning system in the world. Some of their buildings are literally built on massive springs so that they can sway instead of fall down. And experts say that the strict building codes and early warnings of the earthquake and tsunami saved countless lives. Well, you know what strict building codes and warning systems are? That's big government, regulations, spending, and infrastructure. So what if it happens here? How prepared are we in our country? Well, today, the House Republican leader Eric Cantor defended Republican proposals to cut spending for the United States Geological Survey, the National Weather Service, and NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Democrats predict the closure of as many as 12 NOAA offices, which provide warning services for 30 million Americans. And the National Weather Service budget would be cut by $126 million over the next 6 months, with furloughs at 22 forecast offices and shorter work weeks for the Storm Prediction Center and the National Hurricane Center. Where are we going as a country? Last week, the president of the NWS union said that if those cuts go through, there will be furloughs at both of the tsunami warning centers that protect the whole country. And another quote, he says, there is a very heightened risk of life if these cuts go through. The inability for warnings to be disseminated to the public, whether due to staffing inadequacies, radar maintenance problems, or whether radio transmitter difficulties, would be disastrous. Let's bring in MSNBC contributor Chris Hayes, also the Washington editor of The Nation magazine. Good evening, Chris. Good to have you with us tonight. As this story unfolds, it's amazing that we in this country are looking at cutbacks at these very systems. And back in 2001, FEMA warned that the top 3 likely catastrophes for the United States would be a terror attack in New York, flooding of New Orleans, and a West Coast earthquake. President Bush at the time ignored the first warning and cut federal funding back for the programs of the other 2. Are we on par with Japan when it comes to earthquake and tsunami readiness? Americans want to know.
Well, no. I mean, I think Japan is sort of widely recognized, particularly at the engineering part of this, which is a huge part in terms of how buildings are actually constructed. And there's a case, I mean, we're going to find out in the wake of this, there's a case to be made that, as you know, millions of people possibly lives have been saved by the regulations and the engineering there. But one of the things we learned during Katrina is that it's very easy to not pay attention to the aspects of the government that provide emergency services, that protect against and warn against emergencies when emergencies aren't happening. But we know emergencies will happen. And one of the things that was so sort of frustrating and galling about the whole FEMA episode was that Michael Brown had been there all along with his bad qualifications, and it only became a story once Katrina happened. And so we're in a situation now where we have sort of heightened awareness because of the awful tragedy that's happened in Japan, but it's very tempting when you're doing these bizarre every 2-week CRs, continuing resolutions to fund the government, to whack away at things that you think people will notice because, hey, what are the odds there's going to be some sort of cataclysmic weather event?
Yeah, well, the United States